Okay, so for today, I'm going to be working questions 11 through 14. Here, we need to order the angles in each triangle from smallest to largest, but I'm giving the measurements of the sides. Well, this is pretty alike like we saw yesterday. Remember how for assignments yesterday, I showed you guys something like this? Remember when we talk about this, that the smallest angle was opposite from the smallest side, the biggest angle was opposite from the biggest side. Remember we saw this yesterday? So I'm going to use the same idea. I'm going to use the same idea for here, for our work. I don't know how big are each of these angles, but I do know the sides. So I'm looking at which side is the smallest because I have to order the angle from smallest to largest. So I'm going to start with the smallest side. Now here, let me start with red. Which side is the smallest? Well, 15, right? I can compare the numbers, 15, 20, and 21. 15 is the smallest. That's the smallest side. So the smallest angle is this angle here. Okay. Now I see on my homework, I should see two commas and there should be three spaces, right? I need to label the three angles. Now, one thing, yesterday we talked about sides. I used two letters for a side. Now for an angle, in this case, I'm gonna use all three letters. But make sure I'm gonna use the three letters that make the triangle, but because I'm talking about this corner here, I'm gonna leave W in the center. So I'm gonna use all three letters with W in the center. So the way I'm gonna type this will be angle. I'm not gonna write the symbol of angle. I'm just gonna type in V W U. So all three letters, but in this case, I left W in the center because W is the vertex of the angle. So when we're using three for angle, we use three letters. Okay, let's take a look at which one's the medium side. 15 was the smallest, so the medium is 20. The angle that is opposite from 20 is this angle. So again, for this one, I'm going to use all three letters, letter U in the center. So in this case, I'm going to call it V U W. If you call it W U V, you're fine. I'm using all three letters with U in the center. And then lastly, the biggest side is 21, opposite from this corner. And I'm going to say it, okay, I'm going to use all three letters, but V is in the center. So let me call this U V W, all capital letters, okay? If you call it W V U, you're fine. Okay. So three letters when it talks about an angle. Sometimes, in this case, it will work. Sometimes we can get away with the lazy way. I'm going to talk about when the lazy way doesn't work in a future class, a future lecture. But for today, the lazy way will work. What do I mean with lazy way? Lazy way is one letter only. And which one is the one that I should use? The one in the center where the vertex is. So for the first one, if I would have used just W, that will works as well. If I use for the second one, if I use U, that works as well. For the second one, if I just type in V, that works as well. However, if you can just not get used to the lazy way, all all three letters always will work. The lazy way sometimes might work. Again, I'm gonna discuss later when is it that it doesn't work. Let's take a look at question number 12. I see that my answered I have two commas and I had to fill in three spaces. Okay, and I'm going the angles from smallest to largest. So looking at my sides, which side is the smallest? 13. This side is opposite from corner S. So that angle, I'm going to use all three letters and I'm going to leave S in the middle because S is the vertex. So all three letters, S in the middle. So I'm going to call this R, S, T. Okay. Now for the medium angle, the medium side is 16. So the medium angle is this one. Okay, so all three letters T in the middle. So I'm going to call this RTS. And then for the biggest side is 21, which is opposite from this corner. So I'm going to use all three letters, leaving R in the center. So I'm going to call this SRT. Like I said, three letters always work. So we can get used to that. You should be good. How about number 13? Okay. What's the smallest side? The smallest side is 8, which is opposite. And remember, opposite means far away. It's opposite from that corner. So I'm going to use all three letters, letter C in the middle. So I'm going to call this BCD. If you call it DCB, you're fine. All three letters C in the middle. Okay, medium side. After 8, we follow with 13, which is opposite, right? Far away from this corner. I'm going to use all three letters with D in the center. So I'm going to call this BDC. And lastly, the big side is 16, which is opposite from this corner. I'm going to use all three letters, leaving B in the center. So I'm going to call this DBC. Like I said, all three letters always works. The lazy way sometimes. Let's take a look at number 14. Again, the lazy way will work today. So let me go with the lazy way just on this one, just to show you guys how the lazy way works. So 18. 18 is the smallest side, which is opposite from this corner. I could just type in the good way, all three letters, leaving C in the middle. The lazy way is just C, because that's the vertex. I call it lazy way because it's only one letter. Good. How about medium? So 20 after 18, we follow with 20, which is opposite from this corner. So I'm going to call this angle B. The lazy way will work today. Just be careful. Don't get too used to it. And then lastly, the biggest side is 25, which is opposite to this corner. So I'm going to call that corner or angle A. So there. Try to get used to all three letters because, like I said, that's the actual name of it. Sometimes we can use the lazy way, which is just using one letter. For today, the lazy way will work, but in future lessons, there will be some times when the lazy way does not work. I will make sure I cover that. So make sure you get used to not the lazy way.